Hello, my name is Benjamin DeHady and I'm a trumpet player in the National Symphony Orchestra Youth Fellowship. Today I'll be talking about some tips and tricks on how to shoot an audition video for a program like the Youth Fellowship. When it comes to shooting an audition video, the number one piece of advice that I can offer is to have the necessary preparation for the audition for whatever program that you may be applying to. It is really important that you know your audition repertoire inside and out. Whenever I have a video audition, I always find myself preparing just as much for a live audition, if not even more. This is because recording and video audition can be deceptively hard. Before you start recording your audition, be sure to double check all of the rules of your audition. This is important in case you need to state the name or the pieces that you have to play for your audition. You also want to review the guidelines in general because sometimes a program may have very specific instructions on how they want you to record a piece. Another tip that I can offer is to schedule multiple audition recording sessions. You don't want to be in the situation where you hastily have to record a bunch of excerpts in a short amount of time. Also, when you're scheduling your rehearsal times, make sure to allocate extra time to set up your camera, warm up on your instrument, and also pack up all of your stuff before you leave. So now that you have properly prepared for your audition, how would you go about recording it? When shooting an audition video, I think the presentation of the video is extremely important. The better you present yourself through your audition video, the better the judges will feel about you in the overall experience. One piece of advice that I definitely offer to anybody looking to record themselves in an audition is to have two separate audio devices to record the video and the audio. The reason why I suggest this is because generally speaking, the best place to place the camera is not always the best place to place the microphone, especially for directional instruments like brass instruments. Although purchasing an external microphone is most ideal for this scenario, it isn't absolutely necessary that you do so. One thing I used to do was borrow my mom's phone to record the audio off and then place up my phone or another video camera somewhere else so that I had the best presentation. Microphone placement is extremely important because that determines the quality of your audio. And depending on each instrument, you want to place your microphone in different places. This will definitely take some experimentation, but a couple days before you plan on recording, I would suggest placing a microphone in different spots of a room to see which spot sounds best for your instrument. Another thing to keep in mind is to make sure that the gain levels are correct on the microphone. Basically, the gain determines the volume of the sound. You don't want your audio to be so loud that there's lots of distortion and clipping in the audio, but at the same time, you want to make sure that your audio is clear enough so that the judges can hear you perform clearly. Another thing to keep in mind when thinking about microphone placement is also the distance that you place the microphone from you. Generally speaking, the further away you place your microphone from your instrument, the more sound that you'll get from the room as opposed from your instrument. Now, this principle can be extremely useful if you're in a place with beautiful reverb, but keep in mind that you do not want too much reverb in your audio. A typical rule of thumb is to place the mic somewhere between 2 and 10 feet away from your instrument. For directional instruments like brass instruments, you may want to experiment with placing your mic 4 to 10 feet away. And for non-directional instruments like woodwind instruments and string instruments, you may want to experiment with placing the mic a bit closer than that. Another thing to keep in mind if you play a directional instrument is also where you place the source of the sound. You definitely don't want to point the source of the sound directly at the mic because this can lead to a very direct sound. Really take your time to experiment the best place for your audio device. I can't tell you how much that can improve the quality of your recording. Now keep in mind, one of the most important aspects of an audition is not how it looks, but how it sounds. The audio is one of the most important aspects of recording an audition. So now that you figured out where you want to have your mic placement, you also need to figure out where you want to have your video placement. When you're shooting audition videos, I think it's extremely important that the judges can very clearly see you and your instrument. If you're playing with an accompanist, it may also be a good idea to have them in the shot too. Without going too in depth with where to place your camera, just make sure that you're framed well and that you don't have too much or too little room above your head. I also try to make sure that both the performer and the instrument are well centered in the shot. So now that you've gotten good placement for your camera, another important consideration is lighting of the room. You want to make sure that you are well lit, your instrument are well lit, and also your environment is well lit. It can be quite distracting to a judge if you're in a completely dark space where you're just spotlighted. Conversely, it can be equally as distracting to the judges if they cannot see you very well, but you are in an extremely busy environment. What I like to do whenever I'm shooting an audition is to gather as many lamps as I can in my house and place them in the room that I'm recording my audition in. When I do place the lamps in the room that I am auditioning in, I like to place one lamp directly in front of me and one lamp maybe off to the side so that my instrument is also well illuminated. If your environment is also dark, you may want to experiment with placing a couple of lamps in the background of your shot just so that it's well lit. Now, when you're looking back at the tapes that you use for your audition, it is very important that you use your own eyes and your ear. If the video looks good and the audio sounds good, then you're generally in a good place. If the audio or the video doesn't look very good, you may want to consider shooting another take of your audition video. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I really hope that the information in this video is helpful to you in your future auditions.